Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Universal Journeys Radio with your hosts, Dr. Brenda L. Bates and Donny Winter. Follow your heart, for only you know which path is right for you. Universal Journeys Radio is about how spirituality intersects with nearly every other aspect of our lives, even when we do not see it or realize it. Creativity and expression are our connections to the spiritual energy many seek to understand, and our identity is forged through this process. Universal Journey seeks to help illuminate the different intersections between creativity, spirituality, and identity in order to empower and enlighten. And tonight our topic is Want to Know a Secret About Marriage Equality. If you would like to call in and participate in our conversation or ask questions, our number is 347-850-8292. Hello, Brenda dear.
Hello, and how are you?
I am dandy as a dandelion. How are you?
Oh, that's pretty dandy.
I'd like to think that it is pretty dandy.
Dandy as a dandelion. I don't think I've ever heard of that expression before. There we go, expression. Might be impression, too, depending on if you're looking at it spiritually.
This is true. Maybe I'm channeling my inner flower. Who knows?
Oh, your inner flower? Woo-hoo.
My inner flower.
How cool
So,
is that?
There's been a lot of changes happening over the past week and a half, hasn't there?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I mean, with the Marriage Equality Act thing opening up and everything else, and people complaining about it and stuff, and just all around changes. It's like the whole universe is inspiring, or whatever you want to call it, in just switching everything up, making us change when we don't want to change. This happens every so often.
Exactly. And, you know, it's interesting because, I feel like there's been a large change in thought, like a shifting in energy toward more understanding and more open-mindedness, and this has been gradually building up for the past 10 years, and especially when it comes to marriage equality, this has been something in the making for a very, very long time. And I could tell that the day when it was legalized, there was something that budged loose in the ether, you know? Like, I could tell that something lessened its grip and fell away, and which allowed, like, when I was thinking about it, I was thinking of, like, a bird being, like, trapped under something, and then whatever it was trapping it dislodged and allowed it to fly away. And that's what I was thinking and feeling when the whole marriage equality ruling happened. And despite this having a hugely positive response, which we have seen across social media and other platforms, there's been an underlying thread of negativity. And I mentioned this in my recent YouTube video also, that even though, like, there's been a lot of good things said about it and a lot of positive feelings, a lot of people aren't very happy, especially various groups of people in the religious community. Have you heard? I'm sure you've seen some comments by now, haven't you?
Well, yeah, I've seen quite a bit of comments. And it's interesting from the religious standpoint of what I've been seeing, and like, oh, well, I'm not going to do, these type of weddings because it's against the Bible and everything else. Well, you know something? I had something that popped into my head the other day, and I love how sometimes these things happen, okay? And what it popped into my head was every time that you hear about Peter or about Paul, it's always Peter and Paul, St. Peter and Paul. Why don't you really ever hear anything about just Peter or just Paul? But most of the time, when anything is mentioned about the two, they are together. The other thing that, along with that happened is, or that came about with the thought pattern, is why did Peter always ask Jesus, okay, who do you love the most? And my thought is, okay, well, Mary Magdalene was there. Mary Magdalene is the one who answered the majority of the parables, at least half, if not a little more than that, or the questions that Jesus asked in the parables. And all of a sudden, Peter is asking Jesus, who he loves the most. What other connotation was that? So, you're talking about, you're talking about this marriage equality, and people like poo-poo and say, hey, that's going against the Bible. Well, if they go back and look in history, which I found something on Facebook, and I looked it up in Snoops, okay, there was marriages that Jesus performed with for two men.
Really?
Way back. Oh, absolutely. If I could find that, actually, let me look that up. Because it's like, all right, if this is so, then, which makes me think that, and I know this, is people don't look up their history. They don't look at history, because history, if you really look at it, it has all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like, what the heck, so what? People, you can't stop love. You cannot stop people from loving one another. I don't care if they're black, white, purple, orange, or green.
Mm-hmm.
You can't stop love.
While you're looking for that, the most common argument I've heard against this ruling is that God created marriage as being solely between a man and a woman. It does not say solely in the Bible. Like, I don't recall it ever saying that. And, I mean, with the thing that you're about to find, it proves otherwise this is the case, there's been a diverse amount of reactions to this ruling, and I saw this news report of this woman from Indiana who basically had a meltdown on YouTube about the marriage equality legalization, and I'm going to quote what she said. She said, God says that marriage is between a man and a woman. I don't care if you think I'm judging you. Jesus Christ, not Muhammad. Okay, it's just like these Islamic extremists. They're not just extremists, they're Islamic. And then she started going on insulting President Obama and then connecting these two things to marriage equality. And I am just like, what are you saying? Like, you're basically insulting not only other communities of people, but other religious communities, because you think you're right. And this is what I don't understand about a lot of people. It's just religion. If you look at the basics of most religions, they're intended to perpetuate love, understanding, mercy, being kind to the neighbor, and all of that. But we get these people who use the religion as a tool to their advantage in order to oppress other groups of people. And that's been happening for hundreds and hundreds of years, and people don't realize that it's still happening.
Right. It is still happening. I did find that, by the way.
Did you say you found it?
I did.
Okay, good.
I did. This is the forgotten history of gay marriage, and it goes back to, it says, Republicans and other opponents of gay marriage often speak of marriage as being 2,000 years old, tradition, or even older. Quite apart from the fact that the definition of marriage has changed from when it was a business transaction, usually between men, there is ample evidence that within just Christian tradition, it has changed from the point to where same-sex relationships were not just tolerated but celebrated. In the famous St. Catherine's Monastery on Mount Sinai, there is an icon which shows two robed Christian saints getting married. Their pro bonus official witness or best man is none other than Jesus Christ. The happy couple are 14th century Christian martyrs St. Sarge, and also St. Bacchus, both men. So it depicts that on it's St. Catherine's Monastery in Mount Sinai. So, hello.
So it proves that same-sex marriage has been a part of history for as far back as, I think you said, the 14th century, right?
The 4th century.
So, the 4th century, okay. So my question is, why are people so against it today?
I think because of all Christianity and its changes throughout the centuries and everything else, and the Bible changing, because, and this is my big beef about the Bible. The Bible, even though it's inspired by God, it's written by man, and it's been translated over and over and over again, and through the translations, it's lost some of its appeal and some of its original meaning because of either trying to dominate others or control them or whatever you want to call it. It has changed from the original reading. Or, So,
well, another thing. Oh, go ahead.
It's just control, part of control.
Well, and another thing, and this is something that happens literally all the time, is people pick certain parts of the Bible to quote and to abide by, but ignore the rest completely. I know there is a verse in Leviticus that says, "Man shall not lie with another man," or something along those lines. And that is the primary thing that people always use. And the argument that I respond with is, well, this is the Old Testament that we're talking about, and at this point in time in Earth's history, the population on Earth is very small, and God tells Adam and Eve to go out and be fruitful and multiply. Well, being homosexual back then was frowned upon because it, to them, and from their perspective, did not allow people to be fruitful and multiply.
Well, so you bring up it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and this is saying that from my perspective, that for reproductive purposes, homosexuality back then was viewed in a negative light. But it's not necessarily saying that it's, this horrible, terrible thing and yada yada.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. I actually lost my train of thought too, so it went off into the deep end. No.
Yay, we're derailing.
Yeah, no. When you mentioned about Adam and Eve and go out and multiply, well, hello. If Adam and Eve were the original people, and this is something my former husband mentioned, is if Adam and Eve were the original people on the planet, then that means that there was incest going on too. Because that means Eve would have had to have relationships with her son. And if there was any females, then that means, all the rest of the stuff.
Right.
And here we are today.
But people don't take that into consideration. Like, I'm sorry, you cannot make an entire population of people without some incestual relations going on toward the beginning of the Bible. Like, it's just not scientifically possible. But, I mean,
right.
That's a whole completely other argument, arguing whether or not science and the Bible make sense together, but that's besides the point.
And it's interesting, you say science and Bible to come together, and then the Pope all of a sudden says, yes, there can be the Big Bang Theory, and science is not so far off, like, okay, you just opened a bag of worms there, dear Pope.
Right. Yeah, I remember that was all over the news and everything.
Yeah, so it's like, it's starting to come around, but the thing is, the marriage equality, they say, and I say they say, is those naysayers and those people who believe that traditional family and everything else, that it takes a man and a woman to raise children. Well, I'm here to tell you some of the best families I've ever seen taking care of children are same-sex couples. You know, because they seem to care. They seem to care differently than, say, a traditional husband and wife. I mean, I've seen that myself. And for people to say, no, that's wrong, or you know, that's not right, I'm sorry, you haven't met the right people then. Have you even gone out to even look and see how same-sex, you know, couples actually do take care of their children? And no, they're not going to corrupt them. Hello, they're going to broaden these children's horizons by, you know, understanding, you know, about the same-sex marriage. Okay?
Exactly.
Because they're not going to be so blinded like, oh, it has to be man and woman. You know, they're not going to be so prejudiced when they see that.
Right. For me, like, okay, what makes this difficult is that when I get into this debate with people, I get pretty fired up, you know, and someone ends up getting upset at me. My immediate response to people who make judgments like this is, who are you to determine it yourself? You know, who are you to determine what is right and what is wrong? Based on a book that is comprised of mostly metaphorical comparisons that are interpreted in many different ways, you know? Like, you can't just take your interpretation of it and be like, well, my interpretation is completely correct. Your interpretations are completely wrong. Like, that. Like, that's not conducive to, you know, what the Bible teaches about being kind to others and not judging other people.
Right. I agree with that. And be open-minded. You know, the thing is be open-minded. Just because you don't believe doesn't mean that someone else can't believe that. I mean, look and see. Don't be afraid to go ask, you know, the same-sex partners, okay, what's going on? You know, how is it that you love? What, you know, I mean, I've been around enough to see how awesome that these couples are together and the family life that they have. You know, they take better care of their homes than most regular people. I'm just saying.
Right.
So like they got beautiful homes. It's like they take pride in what they have. And they make sure everything is good. I mean, they take care of one another. And it's just like, okay, why are we condemning loving people? I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Exactly. And this brings me to the whole, like, a lot of people will argue against same-sex couples by saying, well, you guys have never had to fight for your rights or do anything like that, so why should you even have them? And first, I'm like, well, since when have basic human rights been something that we have to earn? Like that's just preposterous. And second of all, clearly people who say things like that have no inkling of various historical events that the gay community has endured that have involved people dying for their cause or, you know, fighting for rights and being injured and all of that jazz. And, I mean, to me, it's just people being, I'm going to be completely blunt, ignorant about issues like that.
Yep. Because they're closed-minded. And I think there's a fear within them, not just because of breaking out of that comfort zone, but I think they may feel or have felt that they could be either one. They could go across that line. But they have to fight to say, no, I am straight. No, I am this. No, no. And they want to fight for that. So it's almost like even the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church says, no, you cannot be gay. Hello? Look at the history. Look at everything that's going on there.
Exactly.
And they say that the pedophilia that's going on is caused by gay individuals. And I'm saying not so much. Not so much.
Of course not. And the thing is, people tend to ignore that, there's, straight people who consider themselves straight who are pedophiles too. So it's like, are you just going to completely ignore a group of people or completely blame a group of people for the actions of another? That just makes zero sense to me. But people in their fear immediately resort to playing the blame game because that helps them alleviate their fear.
Yeah, it takes the responsibility off of them. It's funny that in the Catholic Church, sorry I'm, kind of dishing the Catholic Church. I'm
you're
Catholic,
good.
by the way.
You're using your own experience. That's a good thing. Keep going,
right.
My dear.
Right. In the priests in the Catholic Church, they're the first ones to say that I'm against being gay. I'm against this. I'm against that. And it's like, hello, you are that. So why are you saying something against something that you are?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make any sense. That's just like we had a minister here in Michigan, okay, that came out afterwards. He was a very staunch anti-gay individual, okay, and he stood up on the pulpit and he was very much against, gays and stuff like that. And come to find out, he is gay. He had pictures out on these forums and stuff like that. He got caught. He also stepped down. So it's like, really? You are that? Why are you preaching against it? If anything, you should be standing in your right.
People don't realize this also, but the gay people who are so afraid of being themselves because of, the religious community hating them so much, those people are the ones that end up being the most destructive because they are hating themselves and having other people hate them. That hate just brims over the edge of the pot, and is even more damaging because a gay person telling other gay people, oh, you're not supposed to be that way, that's very troubling. Or the people who sit and say that, oh, I used to be gay, but with some therapy and some conversion tactics, I'm suddenly straight. That's giving false information and basically false hopes to people who are afraid of being who they are. Like, imagine a 15-year-old kid who is discovering the fact that, I'm attracted to men and all of that jazz, or if it's a woman, attracted to women, and they end up realizing that, hey, this person is telling me that I shouldn't be this way, and they've told me that they've recovered from it. That means I can too. So they're basically treating it like it's a disease.
Yeah, it's not a disease. It's not a disease, people. It is not a disease.
Honestly, if it was a disease, I feel like everyone would be cured of it by now. If it was really something that simple that people are assuming, but it isn't. And it's just people's fears talking. They fearfully continue to perpetuate their own fears onto other people. And I think that's where, we were earlier talking about the huge shift in thinking and energy that's been happening lately. I think people are discovering that their fears are being projected at other people, and they're realizing that they don't have to do that. That's one main thing that I think is happening right now, and that's why all of this tension with the LGBTQ community is starting to lessen a bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still many, many more steps to go, but this was still an important step because it's proving that our love is no different than anyone else's, that we love with the same capacity and the same conviction that heterosexual couples do.
It's a human right. It is it's natural to love. And again, I have to say, you can't help who you love. I don't care if you're young, old, whatever. You cannot help who you love.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's genuine love, if it's genuine love, then who are we to say that you can't love one another? That's not what Jesus said. Jesus told us to love one another.
People believe that they can define what love is based on a few passages in a book that has metaphors that can be interpreted in many different ways.
They have no clue. People have no clue what love is really.
But the amazing thing is, Brenda dear, is with this change happening, I think people are starting to realize what it is. People are starting to realize that, love is largely defined also by the individual, not the entire, world as a whole, not by history. Love is defined by a person making a connection with another person.
Well, they're beginning to. I mean, it's like, women's rights. I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but women's rights, they had to go through all of these things from way back in the 1800s, beyond even. So it's, hello, and we're still not have our full rights, like equal pay. We're still fighting for equal pay. And it's been how long since women can vote? And then when they first were able to vote, they had to be 30 years older to vote.
Exactly.
And we were property of men. Like we were bought and paid for. You got married to bought and paid for it. Oh, you have to do what I tell you to do. Yeah, right. I'm sorry. I'm not a domesticized.
Well, the thing is, do you see the correlation too? Because with these extremists arguing that the nation's definition of marriage shouldn't include us, that's basically treating the entire gay community as being an object. Like, oh, you can just be swept away because you don't count in this, so just go away. And I think to be like, that's the same type of objectification that. Well, it's not exactly the same, but it runs along the same wavelength as the mistreatment that women have had to face and countless other races have had to face, which we'll talk about later on the show. But the thing is, there's this constant cycle that keeps happening, and now people are starting to see it, I'm hoping. I mean, based on recent events, I sincerely think people are starting to see it. Well, Brenda, dear, should we take a...
Yes,
go first.
We should be taking a break here because that's where you're headed, isn't it? Right, Donnie?
Yeah.
You ready?
Yes. Sorry,
right.
My phone just cut out briefly.
And welcome back to Universal Journeys with your host, Dr. Reverend Brenda L and Donny Winter. Follow your heart, for only you know which path is right for you. And bridge over troubled waters, I'm telling you, we got some bridge over troubled waters, and we're going to get through it. So if you would like to call in, our call-in number is 347-850-8292. It's all yours, Donnie.
Brenda, I love you. I love the bridge over troubled water comment. That was awesome. So if you enjoy listening to our show, feel free to go visit our Facebook page. If you're on Facebook and you type in Universal Journeys, you should be able to find our Facebook. There is a lovely picture of Dr. Brenda and I on front of it, so you'll be able to see it. Or if you're just typing it in on the URL bar, it's facebook.com/universaljourneys111. Also, aside from participating in this radio show, I'm also an activist on YouTube. If you visit my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Donny Winter, DONNY, winter is in the season, you will be able to find my videos. I do a lot of videos discussing marriage equality, LGBTQ rights, anti-bullying, autism awareness, geeky things. It's basically a huge eclectic melting pot of things that I like to do. So if you are interested, feel free to go and subscribe to my channel and visit. Back at you, Brenda, dear.
I think it's kind of funny that you were saying that winter as in the season. I'm thinking, wait a minute. You are so far from winter as a season. You're like this warm, lovable summer, with all this heat radiating off of you. It's like, it's so cuddly.
Well, when I have people telling me that I can't get married, I can assure you I become as frigid as a blizzard.
Yes, you do.
As I was telling Brenda over the break, we are, not to use the vernacular, but coming out with a lot of interesting information this evening. And I think it's some information that we all need to reflect on and talk about because, as I was saying before the break, there has been this monumental shift in energy and shift in thought process, especially since the whole marriage equality ruling. And I think it's interesting to reflect on the people who are advancing and the people like these extremists that we've been talking about who are refusing to advance, who are choosing to continue to allow their fear and doubt to spread hatred in an attempt to, prevent other people from experiencing this happiness. And I guess the point that we're trying to make here is that people don't have to be doing that. Like, if we just embraced change and allowed it to happen, we'll end up being much happier people. We will go with the flow more effectively, and we won't have to struggle with these doubts and fears that continually plague us. So, before we finish the last segment of the show, we were talking about people defining love and how love shouldn't be necessarily defined by extremists or religion, that love is defined mostly by individuals who are making connection with another person, because everyone, I can guarantee you, has different definitions and expectations when it comes to falling in love with other people. What do you think about that, Brenda? Do you agree or
and
disagree?
I do. I do agree, and I can also disagree. I don't think more agree, though. And the thought that I have is the definition of love. So many people have the definitions of love, but they sometimes mistaken love as lust or lust as love. So with the LGBTQ movement, that's going to have to be even distinguished more now than it ever has.
Yes. Definitely.
So this is not going to be this, now we can do this, but now they have to take responsibility for their actions and what they really want in life. They've been fighting a cause, or some of them have been fighting a cause for a very long time to get this equality. And then you have others who are like, I can go with this one and do this and this and this, and we have it in the straight community too. But hello, you guys want to prove yourselves. This is the way to prove it by, let me settle down. Let me find what true love is instead of having this partner, that partner, or whatever. The game is up, guys and gals. Now it's time to show your real stuff. And I know that you can, because I know several couples out there who are doing it right now and have been doing it for many years. That is love. And they've been going against any of what society says because they love for real. And that is unconditional love.
And you bring up a very, very interesting point, because the gay community is going through a monumental shift right now too, just like this whole country is going through a shift. Gay people for a very long, I'm just going to say LGBTQ people for a very long time have never had to face the prospect of marriage because they've always felt as though that it's been an unattainable goal. And now that it is a goal that's easy to attain, they have to be like, okay, we have to rethink how we do our relationships, because, and it's not only just a stereotype, but it's very true that a lot of gay relationships start quickly, end quickly, are very sexually infused, and there is little to no, longevity to the relationships. And now, I mean, of course, there's exceptions in every every community, but now things are starting to change. People are realizing, okay, we don't need to rush when it comes to being in relationships, because now we have the time to plan these things out. Now we don't have to scurry to get married. We can get married at our own pace. Yep. And if you look at things that have happened in California and here in Michigan, I think this was last year when marriage equality was legalized for a short period of time. A ton of people got married in a small window of time, but then their marriages were annulled. That's the kind of trauma that the community has had to face. And enduring that trauma for as long as we have, we've become very desensitized to being in a relationship that has longevity. And it's something that's changing right now. It's something that we have to grow from and learn from. And I think we are.
Yep, and it's going to take a little bit for everybody to get used to. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. And I have to say one more thing, too, about another aspect is it's not going to rub off on you guys. Sorry. If you're gay, you're gay. If you're straight, you're straight. It's not a disease, and it's not going to rub off.
Oh, wait, are you saying that my magical unicorn dust won't make other people gay?
That's what I'm saying. Even fairy dust is not going to make you gay.
They foiled my master plan.
Dang. So it's not gonna. When I hear stuff like that, that's like really, really, people. I mean, you really think that that's gonna rub off on you? I don't think so. Here, let me touch you, because maybe I'll make you straight too. Not.
Oh, we're too funny. Oh.
It's like, where's that disease pill at? And I have to say this too. My optimistic demeanor isn't going to change a pessimistic way of thinking. Sorry, it's the same aspect.
Yeah, and I know. I've heard stories of people not even wanting gay people to interact with their children because they're afraid that they're going to influence their children in negative ways. And I'm just like, you're probably influencing your child negatively by passing that, incredibly ridiculous judgment. Like, you're teaching them that it's okay to not trust gay people, it's okay to not be around them. And here someone is, trying to use that against another group of people. And I'm just like, that's not how this works. Like, just because a person likes, the same gender doesn't mean that they're going to, magically influence your child to do the same thing. That's biology, not, the influence.
Right. Well, and that goes back to the pedophilia thing. A pedophilia is a pedophilia is a pedophilia. That's something totally different than being gay or being straight. It is what it is. They like younger people. And I say people because, younger boys and girls are people. So they like younger people. We have straight guys who like younger girls. But we're okay with that. What the heck, It's like it's okay to go and have sex with a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old or even younger than that. Give me a break. That's not okay.
Well, and the interesting thing is that pedophilia is not about love. Pedophilia is about having control, having power over someone who can't control anything. The same thing with rape. Rape and sexual assault is all about having control over another person. But people don't consciously take that into consideration. Now, people who commit sexual assault and pedophilia will flat out say, oh, well, I love this person, that's why I'm doing it. That they're using that as a cloak. I saw a recent news report where someone was saying that, well, I think it was a pedophile was saying, oh, well, I should have the right to marry this kid because I love this person now. And, of course, as you can imagine, a lot of extremists were like, oh, my God, the end of the world. Look what we did by legalizing same-sex marriage. Oh, my God. And I'm just like, people like this individual have been saying things like this since before same-sex marriage was legalized. So you can't even say that same-sex marriage has anything to do with it. And I think it's extremely, and you know me, Brenda, I don't get offended over very many things, but that kind of comparison, I definitely do get offended over when people compare sit and say, oh, well, pedophilia and homosexuality are the same thing, because it definitely, certainly is not the same thing.
It is not. I have to agree with you. It is not. So, yes, we do have gay priests. No, they do not have sexual contact with younger people, okay? That's a pedophilia. That's not a homosexual or heterosexual thing. I'm sorry. Two different things. Don't put them together.
Exactly.
You know, it's just kind of crazy stuff. But anyhow, so, and to go on to the next thing, and we will get to your calls, guys, so just hang on there. We'll get to them. Is gays and lesbians have been persecuted for a very long time. They have gone through a lot of death. They have gone through a lot of beatings. They have gone through a lot of stuff. Women's rights, okay, and I'm an advocate of women's rights, okay, as you can tell. We've gone through abuse. We've gone through death. We've gone through sexual harassment. We've gone through rape. We've gone through a lot of different things. The slaves, the black people have gone through these things too. They've died for who they are. You know, Native Americans have died for who they are because they are different. So if anybody's out there saying, well, you didn't go through what we had to go through in our history, bunk. That's bunk, because everyone who has ever been different and wanted to stand up for their rights has gone through some sort of trauma, torture, killing, whatever. They've all done it. So no one is better than the other one. I know we were going to talk about that, but so
exactly.
I've stepped down from my pulpit here. My soapbox.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, back up. My fairy dust has gone away.
Your fairy dust.
Sorry.
So, would we like to get to our callers?
Sure. Let's do this. All right, caller, be ready, because here we go. And let me click the button. Hello, caller. Thank you for holding for such a long time.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. My name is Dave. I don't have a question about the topic because I agree with everything you ladies said. So, I'm just curious if any of you ladies feel like there might be a physical move coming up for me within the next couple of months, like 2 to 3 months, or relocating.
Right off the top of my head, I'm saying yes, there is a location move. And it doesn't feel like it's going to be too far, but far enough to say, okay, I've moved out of this particular district. And
exactly.
The only thing with this is you have to be careful of where you're moving to, because it may be moving to something worse than what you're in right now.
Very possible. Okay.
Okay, so the question for you is, do you want to do that? Are you prepared if you do?
Yeah, well, basically I could save myself about almost $700 a month if I do. So, if things work out, so it's in a good way, a good move. But it would narrow down my availability to a certain part of town, possibly. So I think, yeah, what you're saying is accurate. So I understand what you're saying. I really need to look at that a lot closer. Yeah.
Yeah. In monetary gain is not always beneficial for a mental gain. Okay, a mental, emotional gain. If you're willing to give up your mental, emotional way of being, which feels like you're fairly balanced for monetary funds, then just be prepared. Unless you believe that you're strong enough to overcome the situation that you're going to walk into once you walk into that situation.
Okay. Because, and part of what you're saying is I've been thinking about possibly moving closer to my family, which could throw me into the midst of things which I don't want. So I think that's part of what's going on too. Yeah, because that could turn pretty ugly. So awesome. Well, thank you, ladies. I really love listening to your show. So I'm gonna hang up and let someone else get a call in. Okay. Cool.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. Okay.
Well, Brenda, it would seem that my lady energy is very potent again this evening.
I'm telling you. Well, you know, you always do say that you're looking for a husband. So, I mean, they're right.
I suppose that's true.
I love you anyways. I don't care if you're, you know, a man, woman, or what. I don't care.
Yeah, for everyone listening, I am male. I know on the phone my voice sounds fairly feminine. I cannot help it.
I love it. Shall we take another call?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. All right, caller, here we come. Oh, this is funny. Okay, you're on the air, and hello. Thank you for your patience.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. I was just listening to your conversation. I definitely agree.
Yay.
Well, thank you.
I was just calling in because, you know, it's like the holidays, and I want to know if you see romance.
And say that again?
I wanted to know if you see romance coming in.
Romance, okay.
Only if you get out there more than what you've been getting out there, and allowing to open up your mind a little bit more on the people who come into your life. How's that?
Okay. I also think, on top of what Brenda just said, there is someone that you have met over the past couple months who could potentially be cultivated in a romantic relationship with you, but I don't think you necessarily see it with this person at this time. But definitely make sure to keep your eyes and mind open to people who you've already met, because there may be someone you know who wants to be in a romantic relationship with you, but they don't necessarily see you being open to one at this time. So definitely be conscious of that, okay?
Okay. So you see, like, the same person from the past, or do you see someone new? Or it's just up in the air?
No, well, it's someone new.
Yeah, it's someone new. It's someone who you've recently met.
Someone I recently met. I only met one guy recently, like in the last week, but I don't know, I had like mixed thoughts about him because I thought he was involved in like taking my possessions, so I just stopped. So I was just looking for someone else.
That's very possible. You know, again, the thing is follow your heart, because your heart is going to tell you yay or nay about an individual. And that's something that we as human beings have forgotten to do, or forgotten how to listen to the heart. Or the body. Yeah. The body will also tell you something, too. The body will say, whoa, wait a minute here, that's not quite right.
Yeah.
You know, so the body, not only your body language, but their body language, you got to watch, too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, I don't know where to go out anymore because I moved to a different state, like a different environment. So it's just like, don't really know where to go to meet that person. Like, I just work and go to the gym.
The best thing to do is just to go out and have fun. When you go out and have fun, not expecting to meet anybody in particular, when you go out and have fun, that's when you'll attract people. The other thing I have to say with that is, if you have a neediness energy, like you need someone in your life, you are going to repel everyone who might be a good suitor for you. So if you can be whole and complete in your own being, without that neediness energy, because that neediness energy literally goes out from the front of your body and like trying to grab anybody that might be suitable for you. So usually you got to pull that in a little bit, balance it, and just go out and have fun like you're supposed to have fun, like you would have fun, and see who you attract, because it could be quite an interesting, adventure when you do that.
Well, I used to do that all the time, and it's been going on, I want to say, it's been for some, like, a good 6 weeks. I mean, you know how you talk to somebody on the side, but it's like on and off, like they're off, like the relationship is off more than on. So if you're like dating someone, but you don't speak to them 9 months out of the year and maybe like 3 months you're together, that's like kind of been my situation. But I never like had this wanting or needing kind of feeling. Just curious because I was, getting older, because I just always been like a floater. Like I'll just get up and go to another state or something. And now it's like, okay, I've been like always having fun. Like I'm known as a fun person. Like people will call me when they want to go out and stuff like that. But it's like, okay, what's going on? Is it me? Or I don't know.
So see, this is a very interesting thing that you're bringing up here, because in a lot of ways, I have a very fun personality too, and I like going out. And I've realized that if I focus less on finding someone and focus more on like being bubbly and being happy and fun out there, people are very, very attracted to that. So if you just go out and just, don't focus on finding a guy, just be like, hey, I'm going out, I'm going to have a good time, and I don't care what people think. People will see that level of confidence, and they'll be like, I want to meet that person. I want to get to know that person. This is a discovery that I've made recently, too, and it's definitely made a huge influence in my life.
Okay.
Yep. And then you'll attract the right person. I mean, that's the cool thing about all of this stuff being balanced and everything else. You'll attract the right person into your life. And there's things that you're going through right now that you need to go through to realize who you are in order to be able to attract that person into your life. You got it, sister. I'm telling you, you got it. It's just you got to get back into that confidence level that this is who you are, and hey, I'm out here. I'm bigger than life. If you like me, okay. If you don't, all right too. Type of thing.
I know. It just seems like it's just more, like, I don't know if you have more, it seems to me I've been more single in my life than in a relationship. And I see other people, like, even, how can I say this? Like, I'll be like, okay, I'm really critical of myself, but even girls that that have a lot of self-confidence, and sometimes, I don't know, like, I'm just really critical of myself. They date more than me. Yeah. So it's just like, I feel like I'm one that's not, like, I see different people. They're, like, dating different people. And I'm like, well, what am I doing wrong? Am I not attractive? Or,
no, no, that's not it at all, because you're a very beautiful woman. And I'm not even seeing you, but, I mean, on a spiritual level, I see you. But you're a very, very beautiful woman. The thing is some people will fall for any person, and their relationship isn't really the greatest, but they will put on a persona in front of everybody else that it is. Okay? For you are a real individual. When you're in love, you're in love. And that's what you're looking for, is that type of love. You're not looking for a superficial relationship. And believe me, as you get older, and you were talking about being single. I've been single since 1998. Okay, so you get that. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't know about this, and is there something wrong with me versus something else? And I have to say, absolutely not. It's because that right individual has not come into your life yet. But in the meantime, you still got to be that beautiful woman that you are, that sassy and like, girlfriend, type of deal. And you got to be who you are.
Another interesting thing is is that, I mean, immediately you were saying, oh, well, is there something wrong with me? Am I not attractive enough? See, and it's okay to have insecurities as long as you channel those insecurities into positive results in your own life. Like, did you ever take into consideration that it isn't you whatsoever, and that it could be the fact that these men out there are just blind to who you are right now? Maybe they aren't up at your level. Maybe they aren't ready for the type of love that you want to experience, and that you're wanting to find someone who can share that same level of relationship that you want to share. So maybe, I mean, I don't think it's you at all whatsoever. I just think that you encounter a lot of people who aren't ready for that level of commitment or that level of love.
Right. Right. You know, the other thing too is what I found in my relationships when I ever get into one is they're afraid, because you have so much love to give, that they're afraid that they can't give the love that you deserve back. And it's not you, it's them. It's like it's their confidence, it's their stuff. That's right. That's their insecurity.
Okay.
It's coming, girlfriend. It's coming.
I hope so.
It is. Have faith. It is.
Yeah, because I'm, like, tired, like, of these random, it's just, like, this last situation kind of, like, really disappointed me, because I feel like, you know how you wait for so long and you finally think that you have, like, a connection with somebody, and then, like, I guess they get you at a vulnerable moment. Like, I guess I was too vulnerable and not reading the person properly, and I'm not accusing them. I told myself I was going to leave them alone, but you know, something crazy happened during that, and I just felt really, like, vulnerable, and you know, I felt like it was because I've been waiting so long.
See, the thing is, too, you have to remember is with any relationship, and I do mean any, with any relationship, you really want to look at the dynamics of the relationship and what you learned from it. Did you learn anything? Did you learn anything about you? Did you learn anything about the behavior or patterns of others? And then you step back and say, okay, this is what I learned.
Yeah, I did learn things, but I learned something, but I don't feel like it's going to make me, I don't feel like it's actually making me not be the person who God made me. And I feel like it's like this constant pattern, maybe the energy that I'm bringing, and I don't mean to hold you up for too long, but I think it may just be the energy that I'm, like, attracting. But, like, I love people, but now I'm starting to feel like I don't like people as much. And I feel like it needs to be a little more closed and more protective about my information and some of the things I disclose. And which is making me not, like, when you say go out, because I'm always ready to go out and have a great time, but it's just like, you know, you go out and you try to be, you know, happy, vibrant, and then someone feels like they have to steal from you. And this is not, like, the first time something like that has happened.
Right. So there, like you said, there is a pattern there. So the thing is to discover the pattern. Maybe it's something in your past that you're used to that was a trained or learned process. That's what you need to break in order to go forward. So if you can. Yeah, because if you can think of or remember things in your youth, okay, that may have brought this pattern on, then you can break it. Because once you recognize it and you name it, done. You own it, it's gone.
Okay.
And then once you break that pattern and see, and the universe will bring those individuals into your life until you recognize what that pattern is. And once you recognize it and it's gone, that pattern's gone. It doesn't come back, and then you're free to go do what you want to do. Have that relationship that you want to have.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to listen.
You are most welcome, and thank you for calling.
You're most welcome.
All right.
So have a good night.
You
too.
too.
Thank you. Bye. Okay,
well,
with that said, I think we're going to take a little bit of a break. How's that?
Man, you read my mind.
Woo, baby. And you know something? I am going to go with a very awesome song that I love, and I turned my friend Deb on to. So here we go.
It's all about
Dancing
love,
in
right?
the Sky. And welcome back to Universal Journeys. I so love that song. If you would like to call in, our telephone number is 347-850-8292. And I did want to mention something that's happening. And if anybody is in the Michigan area, especially around the Holton Lake, next weekend on Saturday, you can come out and see, guess who? Yes, Donny, myself, and Deb DeRouche, Jonathan Lento, Deb Markham. I mean, all of those guys will be at this particular place. And it's called the Spirit, Mind, and Body Festival, and it's Music in the Park. It's at the Tressler Park in Prudenville, Michigan, Saturday, July 11th from noon till 8 p.m. That's a long time. We're going to be having some amazing music with Calamity Jane, and they're going to start their music around 3 o'clock. And then we'll have a bunch of other things. We'll have, let's see here, we'll have readings, and we'll have vendors. And you know something? If you want to get married, come out and see us, because we're right there. We're going to be ready, and let's make it happen. Okay, guys? Remember, next Saturday from 12 to 8 at the park. I'm done with that one. How about you, Donny?
Woo-hoo! That's going to be fun.
Yes, it will. I'm having fun on the show. What about you?
I'm having lots of fun today, too. I think this has been a very interesting topic that we've needed to talk about. And now that, like I said, the shift has been happening, it's a lot easier to talk about, too, because I feel like people are recognizing the fact that being open-minded and being accepting is very important.
Yes, absolutely. You know, and this is equality. This is not just marriage equality. This is equality across the board. Another step in the right direction to equality for everyone, just not a few. So is there a lot of work that has to be done? Yeah, you bet. Because with every revolution that goes on, we have to make the change. We have to go forward, you know. And if you don't want to make the change, then that's okay too, because you're just going to be left behind a little bit. But don't condemn people who are making the change, who are trying to make it better for other people, because the Bible says, "Thou shalt not judge." The only judge is God, not us.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that, let's live in peace and harmony. That's the key right there. So
exactly. And for the people who are afraid of embracing all of this, you're going to fall behind, and you're going to end up realizing that, it's time to start embracing progression. It's time to start being understanding and appreciative of people. It's time to start being open-minded.
Yep. Yeah, and it is. I mean, again, we are all one. No matter what color, what religion, what race, what sex we are, okay? Sexual orientation, I should say. We are all one. Everyone is one. We bleed the same. I don't care if you're this, a different color. We all bleed red. So let's get out there and love one another, accept one another, and say, okay, let's put our differences aside and go forward with this.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, we do have a controversial subject that has just come up in the news besides the marriage equality, and that is the Confederate flag. What do you think about that, Donny?
Oh, there's been a very significant amount of controversy around it because, I was watching CNN the other day, and they did a poll of Southern people who live in the South, and they were asking them, do you feel the Confederate flag is a symbol of racism or a symbol of Southern pride? And about 40-some% thought it represented racism, and about close to 60% thought that it represented Southern pride. And for me, here is how I disagree with the Confederate flag. I acknowledge and accept that it is a symbol of a historical symbol in our country, because it symbolizes the Confederacy during the Civil War. But to me, it's no different than the swastika flag is to the Jewish people. To African American people, the Confederate flag is a symbol of slavery, a symbol of violence. And if it is offensive to a very large group of people, why display it? Like, if it's that disrespectful, why display it? People certainly do not display the swastika flag, so why display this one? That's my question. That's how I feel.
Right. And, I've been down in the southern states, okay? I was down there quite a little bit when I was in the military, and then also afterwards I lived down there. And even in Indiana, I have to say, even in Indiana with the KKK, I was in a restaurant with a colored man or a black man, depending on how the political correct it is. And I had a white woman come up to me and say, are you with that guy? With that person, And I said, yeah. And I said, why? And she goes, because you shouldn't be. That's wrong, and and it was like, that was the first time when she mentioned that was the first time that I saw color. Because here in Michigan, at least where I'm from, you don't see color. Yes, I have had, members or loved ones say certain things about black and white, but I never saw color before, because that's not something I saw. But when that woman said that, then that's when it dawned on me. It was like I was living in this psychedelic world, if you want to call it that, and all of a sudden that bubble bursted, and I saw the color. And to me, that was like, really? My whole perspective changed. And then when I was down in Georgia, I got a taste of stepping back, because these guys are not going forward with their lives at all. I mean, they're fighting it tooth and nail with that Confederate flag. And it's like slavery is still very strong down there. And they still do not want white people to talk to black people, or the intermarriage thing. And it's like, really, guys? Is that what your Confederate flag is all about? The South will rise again. That's what I kept hearing. The South will rise again. And they didn't like the northern people who had the United States flag, which was adopted as the United States flag. They didn't like that, so they were fighting that. And I can understand that you have pride in a flag, but when you do not recognize the United States flag, that is going beyond having pride. That's saying that you do not want to belong to the United States government. Okay, that is like, okay, that's not quite right. And it may be because I'm a northerner, okay, and that I was like, hey, I don't have an issue. To me, a flag is a flag is a flag is a flag. And that also goes back to a symbol of, what was that, Hiroshima, where the military guys were putting up the flag, and then we just recently had something posted on Facebook where the gay guys were putting up the flag. Like, then I had some of my friends, they're like, oh, that's so wrong, rah. To me, it's like, look, guys, they're saying that they've overcome. That's what that is. They're overcoming. They're not making fun. It wasn't Hiroshima. It was something else. But
you're talking about the flag raised over Iwo Jima, I think.
Iwo Jima. There we go. That's close. But anyhow, it's like, it's meaning something totally different. They've overcome an adversity. They've overcome, and they've won. That doesn't mean anything. is they're not degrading anything. They're just saying that they've overcome, and they now have a right that they've never had before. And truthfully, I hope more and more gay people come out of the closet.
Exactly.
I really do, because they deserve to be loved. You don't know how many people who are gay that are in the closet and they can't even express it. They're like living a lie. And you know what that does to a person? That tears them up inside because they can't express who they really are.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, gals, it's time to stand up. You can be who you are and be proud of it.
Exactly.
Go out and love the person that you love. Don't be afraid. It's okay.
And
with this
I'm glad you brought up that flag issue, because I remember it was if you guys need to remember the specific image, it's the Marines raising the flag over Iwo Jima. And about 10 years ago, there was a photographer who did a similar photo of this, but with gay people raising a rainbow flag. And when marriage equality was legalized, there was a huge, huge controversy about the flag, the raising of the rainbow flag being offensive toward those in the military, offensive toward those who have died. And that's when I started getting people saying, oh, well, gay people haven't had to fight and die for their rights, so they don't deserve them. And that's when, like, I came unglued. I was like, so you're telling me that a symbol of overcoming adversity and overcoming destruction that was originally established by that image that the Marines did isn't honorable to do in other ways? Like, I feel like that this photographer was also honoring the original concept and, you know, feeling of overcoming adversity that the original photo established. So for people saying that it insults people who have died, I'm here to tell you that there have been a lot of gay people who have died just to find rights. So it's extremely ignorant to say things like that, and very closed-minded, too.
Right. And I have to agree with that. It's like, really, guys, I mean, it's a symbol. Okay, it could be any rock. It could be anything. It's like they fought for their freedom. Okay? They fought to be able to be who they are. Just like all the rest of us fought it. Okay? I'm telling you, all the rest of us fought it. Our ancestors fought for us to be able to do this, to be free from all of this atrocities that's been, you know, in the name of, you know, the Bible or whatever you want to call it.
It'd be like me getting offended over a child drawing a rainbow and a unicorn. I'd be like, oh my God, that's totally insulting because it's making fun of gay people. Like, you know, it's like really, like it's a really ridiculous comparison to make.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one too. So, like, I just had to bring that up as a last.
Well, and I'm glad you did. The thing is, though, like, and I don't think we've talked about this yet, but there have been people comparing each other's social causes, and this flag situation was an example of that, because people were saying, well, the Marines fought and died for something. Well, I mean, you know, the gay community have fought and died for something too. So, and then, of course, a lot of people are like, well, you can't compare the two. You are the one comparing them. You're comparing the flag situation. So, but you can't just sit there and invalidate a group of people dying for their cause and say that it's less important because you can't relate to it or you're not a part of it. I mean, that's very senseless and it's very disrespectful toward that group of people.
Well, and you know, and it's just not that group of people. I saw it the other day, okay, on Facebook again, where you have individuals who are metaphysical ministers, all right, and then you have a group of ministers who've done or became ministers through the traditional way. And they were like, okay, this is not right, you know, should they be allowed to perform this and this? And it's like, I'm a metaphysical minister, okay? And I feel that I've been called to do this. And I'm not one of those fly-by-nights who just like, okay, I say I'm a minister and that's it. I don't do that, okay? I step forward just like many of my brethren step forward, and they believe and they know in their heart that they were called to minister. It doesn't make them any less than someone who went through the traditional channels.
Exactly.
If anything, we understand more because we don't have all of that doctrine that they or the institutions have placed upon them. We don't have that. We have a more open channel. We have less prejudice and less dogma that we have to follow. It doesn't make us any less. And that's my thing. It's like, it doesn't make us any less. So, yes, you're going to have people just like you have people in any sort of group that they're going to like, oh, yes, I'm this. And all of a sudden, a year or two later, if not less, they're off and gone. But the tried and true people who took it as a divine thing that was given to them, they will be there, a steady flow. So, it's just not this other things, it's everything.
Exactly.
And it's equality in everything. So
I could not agree more
with
you with that. Well, another interesting thing is that when people start deriving similarities between different things, they get very, antsy and upset. Like we're trumping on what they're trying to do. It's like this, just because something might be similar doesn't mean that we're trying to trump on what you're trying to do.
Right.
We have our own causes. If you expect us to respect your causes, then it's only sensible to respect our causes as well, because, we have feelings. We're passionate about these things as much as you are.
True. Very true.
I think it's important for people to remember that. It's important for people to realize that, hey, we need to be open to other people. We need to be open to what they do. We need to be open to their causes. Simple as that.
Yep, and it is simple as that. So, yeah, it's just it's in everything. It's in everything. With that said, I think we're going to go to a short break. We're going to listen to some Neo, Miss Independent. You are on the Universal Journeys Radio with Dr. Brenda L. and Donny Winter. Follow your heart, for only you know which path is right for you. And I'm going to make some plugs here. We have on tomorrow night, we have Beyond Smoke and Mirrors from 7 to 9. We have Spiritual Journeys from 7 to 9 on Tuesday night. On Wednesday, right here on this programming, we have Deb DeRusse and Deb Markham on Mystical Awakenings. And then from 7 to 9. And then on Friday, we had True Paranormal with Deb DeRusse and Jonathan Lento. Woo, woo. All right, guys. Woo-hoo. Awesome.
By the way, Brenda, excellent singing. That was American Idol quality.
Yeah, not.
It was.
I just like that song. Of course, I like the last couple songs, so that was cool.
That is a good
All right,
song.
we have two more callers. So do you want to say anything before we get to the calls, or should we get right to the calls?
Let's get right to the calls.
Okay, so here we go. And hello, caller, you are on the air. Hello? Hello? Okay, let's put you back on hearing. Just kidding. Probably freak him out like we did Jonathan last time. So, too cool. I really do. I was very happy for the marriage equality to come into play, because I have a lot of loved ones who have been waiting for this moment all their lives. And for me, this was excitement. because now they could properly, and I say properly to the whole world, share and show who they love. And to be able to promise it just like everybody else. To proclaim it just like everybody else. So for me, this is was a very happy moment. And it's like, I had a friend at work who said, Brenda, you got to see this. She was all giddy. I'm thinking, what? You know? And she had gotten a text from her friend letting her know about what just transpired. And once I read it, I'm like, yes, all right. It's about time. And it was about time. It should have happened a long time ago.
I agree. But everything happens for a reason when it happens.
Yes, it does.
And
yes,
I'm very happy that it happened too, because I feel like for a long time I've always told myself, what's the point of getting into a relationship if I cannot get married to the person eventually? And I think now that marriage equality has been legalized, I am not as rigid like that. I'm like, oh, okay, now I can actually, you know, pursue people and open myself up to people, and it was a major step for me too. So I also have marriage equality to thank for that.
Right. You know, and it's like now you can proclaim it to the world. Before you kind of have to hide all that stuff, and, you know, that's not cool. You should be able to proclaim everything to the world. It's like, whoa, okay, I'm proclaiming it, and it needs to be done that way.
Well, and like we were talking about earlier, like LGBTQ relationships, especially relationships with gay men, there's been no desire really for commitment depending on the person. And because of that, I always felt as though nobody would want to be committed to me. And now I've switched my way of thinking because of this recent ruling, and I'm like, you know, I feel like this is going to change now. I don't have to worry about this kind of thing as much anymore because it's changing.
Right. And, you know, and there are others like you, Donnie, that feel that way. That's the big change that has to occur, and it is going to occur with this particular ruling, and it's just kind of cool. The other thing, too, and this is what another friend said, is, okay, and I can see his point with it. The ruling on the equality marriage, okay, was a big deal, and he was saying that, okay, this was cool, this was good, this was needed, but what else was going on that we were distracted from knowing in the political arena? What else was being covered up by all this jubilance in the United States? So there was something else going on in the background, because he mentioned, okay, well, this ruling came out during what month is this? This is Gay Rights Activist Month or something like that?
It came out in June, which is LGBTQ Awareness Month, I believe, yeah.
There you go. Okay, so this came out in June, and so this couldn't have come out any sooner than this. So there was a lot of things that was going on behind the scenes other than what this was occurring, or what was occurring here. There was other things happening that we were missing, and of course this was a different way of covering it up and giving out, okay, we're going to have everybody distracted over here with all of this stuff. Now we can do what we want over here in the background. This has happened so many times. The same way with wars, same way with some of the chaos that's happened, and it's really part of what is called the chaos theory. Because when you can get people in a chaos theory or get them off into something else, they will leave you alone for what you want to do in the background, be it whatever it may be. So that's something to think about too, guys. There was a lot of stuff going on there. Yes, this was a great time in history, but what else was happening in the background that we should have been looking at?
It's always just that in consideration.
Yeah,
and also even though this was a hugely monumental step forward for the gay community, we also have to take into consideration that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. This was just but one step because, I mean, in many states, gay people can still get fired from their jobs. In certain states, they're completely ignoring the ruling altogether. And there's still a lot of hate crimes. There's still a lot of discrimination and disrespect of people. And now it's time that we take another step and start creating some awareness. Like, just because marriage equality isn't legalized does not mean that there still are not problems.
Exactly. If anything, it's going to be more of a challenge because guess what, guys, you and gals, you have to stand up. You have to say, okay, and be recognized. All right, this is what we stand for. You know, we've worked all this time for this. Now, let's not mess it up. And it was the same way with any other, you know, organization who's had to do this or group of individuals who's had to do this. You know, again, women's rights. So, I mean, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's not something that may happen within the next 10 to 15 years that you're going to get it all because look at, you know, we had the right to vote as women way back when, but yet we're still fighting for pay equality, you know, or we still don't have it. So equal rights with that. So, I mean, it's steps. You take a step here and a step here, another step here, and before you know it, throughout the years, you get that equality. And that's what we have to do. We have to stand up. We have to say, okay, This is who we are, this is what we want, and then we have to stand in it. We just can't say, okay, we got it now, see you later, and do whatever we want. You have a responsibility now.
Yeah, and the greatest challenge is using our voices to create change. I know I've had a lot of difficulty dating in the past because a lot of gay people don't want to be associated with a gay person who is active in the community and very outspoken about social causes. And, you know, and I know I can be a big mouth, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm trying to damage that person, you know. Like, a lot of people are afraid of voicing themselves, and it's getting to a point where they need to realize that you're going to have to, you know, come to terms with that fear and start being who you are and start embracing who you are, because there may be a day where you have to defend your identity, and if you can't defend your identity, then you're going to have people walk all over you constantly.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. And it's just...
And it's scary. It's scary to do that. But it has to be done. It has to be done.
Right, and any change that occurs, it's going to be scary. It is going to be scary, but you know something? That's what we go to war for. We go to war for change, and it is scary.
Exactly.
And people will be harmed, and people will be killed, but people will come back heroes too. And that's the way it is with all of these things. All of our heroes with any type of thing like this have been those forerunners, those who have been trampled, those who have been drugged, those who have been, you know, raped or whatever you want to call it, through all in the name of getting the awareness out there. It has not been for naught. They fought for our freedom, and they continue to do that every day. Let us make them proud.
This does not exclude any social cause either. All of these social causes. We all have people who have made sacrifices. We have all had people who have gone out of their way to create change. One social cause, like we said earlier, is not any more or less than the other. They're relevant and important to the people who are a part of them.
That's right. And you're talking animal activists too. Same thing. The same thing. Greenpeace. I mean, I'm a very big advocate of Greenpeace, because I want to save my brothers and sister whales and dolphins and stuff like that, okay? And sea turtles, and I want to save those guys because they have a right to live too. They don't have to become part of a soap or perfume, okay? I'm a big advocate. I've always been. I love my sea animals.
Me too.
Family.
Me too. I love all my animals. Like, I even advocate for trees. I love trees.
You betcha. Trees too. You betcha. So, shall we take our last caller now?
Yes, we should.
Okay, here we go. Jonathan, you're on, buddy. Come on. Here we go. And
well,
Jonathan, you're on.
Hey.
How are you? So I want to talk about a kind of funny story. People do gay rights and married all that stuff.
You're kind of breaking up, Jonathan.
Can you hear me better?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, well, my dad is right outside of my bedroom window mowing for whatever insane reason, like 8:45 at night, mowing with the lawnmower, so I might be hearing that. Yeah, he chooses how to do it all. I'm not going to judge, let him mow and be happy, so. I wanted to share with you guys an interesting thing that happened this week. You guys know that I get back into the workforce, slowly healing everything back. And part of me getting back, I'm going around from store to store, and there's 15 stores on my franchise, and I'm painting the windows. And we have McDonald's has a big minion contest going on, whatever it is, and I'm painting minions on all the windows. And I went to a very kind of podunk area of Ohio on Friday that is not so open-minded, but is a very big tourist trap. And Eric brought me, who anybody that doesn't know is my fiance and my future husband. And he was just kind of sitting back, and I'm painting windows, and all the kids are watching when I paint, they're entertained, and the parents are making their comments. It's all good. There's this very young gay couple came in. And as they blew past me, I kind of reached over and elbowed Eric and was like, look. They were holding hands, and there was this very kind of rednecky guy sitting behind me, and he says, oh, God, look at that. That's disgusting. Doesn't that demoralize everything that we stand for? And he keeps going on and on. He's like, that's what makes America disgusting right there. And I turned and said, you know what? You're absolutely right. And he said, thank God somebody agrees with me. And I said, no, right in the fact that this is what makes America disgusting. And I got the sidekick from Barrett because he knew what I was doing. And I put my paint on, and your comments and the way you're reacting to that adorable little couple is disgusting right now.
Hey, Jonathan, you're breaking up, and I think it's the airwaves. Do you want to try calling back?
Right back, honey.
Okay. So what Jonathan was doing was he was talking about when he and Derek was sitting in McDonald's, and that this lovely couple went by, and they were holding hands. And there was this redneck guy sitting behind them and said something to the effect that, now, isn't that disgusting? And then there was some other things that was said, too. And that's when Jonathan started breaking up. So he just came back. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, Jonathan.
Oh, no. When did I break up?
You were breaking up as you were talking. Yes. You were breaking up as you were talking about seeing the lovely couple holding hands. So if you could start from that point, that was great.
I would love to. I was sitting there painting, and this cute, adorable little young gay couple just kind of flies by us. And I elbow Derek, and I point him out, and he's like, yeah, they're cute. And there's this rednecky guy behind us that's like, hey, you know, he's going on and on to his wife. That's disgusting. That's what demoralizes America right now. This is what makes our country so horrible. He's like, that's what's disgusting about our country. This is what's so disgusting. And when he phrased it that way, that was my cue to sneak right in. And I said, you know what? You're right. This is what's disgusting about our country right now. And he just kind of throws his hands up, and he's like, thank God somebody agrees with me. And I said, yeah, I do. I said, your comments are what's disgusting right now. I said, those two young men just marched in here. Yeah, they're holding hands, but you know what? They're cute, they're adorable, they're in love. Let them be in love. And he starts mumbling to his wife, and I said, no. I said, why would you even do that? And he's like, see, this is what I'm talking about. And I said, what, you're prejudiced? And that was it. The minute I said that, he grabbed his kids. He's like, let's pack up, let's get out. And he's like, and you're disgusting too. And I said, all I'm doing is painting windows. I don't know how that makes me disgusting. And Derek's going, would you just please be quiet? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to be quiet right now. But it was so funny that in that 2-second little moment, I was able to flip his comments because he phrased them in just the wrong way to shove them back in his face and him go, oh, crap. And you could see that moment. And it made me go,
glorious.
Oh, it was hysterical. And Derek, like I am in Donnie, and I was telling him, Derek just kind of grinned and put his hand up to his face and just shook his head. He's like, oh my God, here he goes. Because I couldn't help it. I mean, that was my moment right there to sneak in and go, yeah, this is what's disgusting right now, is the fact that you won't recognize somebody else's love, but you'll sit here and judge it for 5 minutes before you even take 2 seconds to look at it and go, that's nice that those guys are in love. Instead, no, that's what's disgusting about America. And I flipped it around and I said, yeah, you're right. Your comments are what's disgusting about America. And boy, oh boy, when he marched out of there, I can't help but paint a little bit quicker because I was that much happier with myself. And you know, truth be told, if anybody that lives in Ohio might be happening to listen and knows where Catawba is, drive by and comment on the 2 minions holding hands, because I painted 2 minions holding hands. Just in the fact that man said that. That was my whole comment. But I was just like, earlier when I was hearing you guys talk, I'm like, I was just so disgusted, but in agreement with so much, and just the whole, we need to step up right now and show we're in love and that we can love each other in the right ways. And I'm like, why for 2 seconds? When, you know, you walk through a mall or anything else and you see young people holding hands, nobody says a word. But
exactly.
If it's 2 young men, it's just, boom, that's it.
And, you know, that's one of my biggest pet peeves, because I've seen across Facebook, and I've had this mentioned to me several times, well, I don't mind if you're gay as long as you don't show it, as long as you don't rub it in my face, as long as there's no public displays of affection. And I'm just like, oh, really? Now, all right then, because clearly gay people have not had to deal with that for our entire lives. I mean, in TV commercials, on movies, everywhere, like, we get to see, like, everyone else express their love. Why can't we do the same thing? What makes it so much worse? It's the same love. It is the same love. But people like to distinguish it because they fear that we're trumping on what they define as love. Well, I'm sorry,
and
but
that would be,
like I said earlier, love is defined by the people who were in the relationship, not by not by the opposers.
And that would be no different than you and I walking through any public place and seeing a straight couple taking care of their children. I could look at that in disgust and go, look, they're flaunting the fact, Donnie, that they can have children and we can't. That's disgusting to me, and they need to stop right now. So stop taking care of your children in public, take it home and do it there. And that's no different, I'm sorry. But in the same standpoint, I would not want them to take away from taking care of their children, making a wonderful, loving family unit, and doing that. So why would you say, don't show that I love my fiancé, my future husband, in public if I happen to stumble or anything and he goes to grab me and goes, oh, honey, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. And somebody would feed off that and go, oh, that's gross. Look, that guy just called the other guy honey, or he helped him up. You know, it boils down to things as simple as that. And it boils down to us just saying we need to let it all go because love is love again, just like you were just saying. It's love. Let it go.
That's exactly right. You know, the other thing, too, is what I find interesting, being a female, is to see that, okay, society will accept more, and because you don't hear as much as you do with the relationship of 2 guys versus 2 gals. 2 gals, you know, there's like more acceptability, and I think that it has to do with the sex aspect of guys watching 2 girls versus guys watching 2 guys.
And you're absolutely right. No, you are. And you know what, Brenda? Years ago, I met a gal in college, and she looked at me and she said, she said, I'm going to tell you something. And I said, what? She goes, you know how two guys get off on watching two girls? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, I don't want to freak you out, but I love gay porn. And that blew my mind to hear a straight woman say, sexually, I get off watching two men together just like a straight guy gets off watching two women. And I was like, whoa.
It is
that was
very
so
common, too. That's very, very common, even though people do not admit it.
I'll
tell you what, Donny, that just blows my mind. Blows my mind.
You know, and my thing is we can see two gals walking, you know, with their hands around each other, or you know, or arms around each other, holding hands, and we don't think anything of that. You know, because young guys or young gals do that all the time. They even kiss. There's nothing said anything about that. But it is more so when two guys are holding hands or they're kissing, and because even with all this media that I saw after, you know, the equality ruling, I saw more pictures of guys than I did of gals.
Well, let me challenge you with something real quick, and I know you guys are running very short on time, but my dad gets challenged all the time because my father is a very, very loving father, and at 38 years old, when I go to leave, wherever I'm at with my father, we still hug and we do a peck on the lips. Now, there's four of us in my family. There's me, who's the eldest, then my sister, then my brother Mike, who's very straight, and then my youngest brother Joe, who happens to be gay as well. And my father was asked by several of his friends, do you think by kissing your sons goodbye every time they go somewhere that you made them gay? And he's like, that's preposterous. He's like, I love my children. And he has told all of his friends, and he said, whenever my children leave me, no matter what aspect, no matter how old, that might be the last time I see them. So is the last thing I want a loving embrace? You better freaking believe it. Did I make my boys gay? No. Absolutely not. And my dad has been one of the biggest gay activists since I came out at 16 that I've ever known, as a very straight-laced Catholic man. And he was raised very straight Italian Catholic. He's first-generation Italian Catholic in this country, and says, you know what, my kids will be happy no matter what they do with their life, no matter what path God puts in front of them, and they'll be happy.
Right.
I'm just here to support them as their father.
You make a great point there, because Europeans, they don't have as much issue with this as we do. I'm serious.
No, they don't.
Serious.
No.
And, you know, this came up with some of the information that the Pope put out in some of the, what do you want to call it? Anyhow, some document that he put out not too long ago, and he had to switch it up, or they had to switch it up to accommodate that particular write-up, or I guess you could say article, here in the United States, where it was perfectly okay there and perfectly okay other places, but we had to state it in a certain manner that showed that, okay, he was on the straight and narrow with, you know, husband and wife. Yeah, it was some crazy stuff. But with that said, guys, thank you for coming. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I hope everyone had a wonderful 4th of July weekend. I know I did. We will see you next Sunday again. And next Sunday is Donnie's turn. Yay! As Donnie's
Yay!
So with that said, have a great night. Follow your heart, for only you know which path is right for you.